Rams in here right now behind me, and 160 ewes. Now in that ewe group, there's still some of them that are yearlings. Now all the yearlings are not pregnant necessarily because some of them got born later than others. Our typical lambing season runs from December 15th until about March 15th, which is why they're in the barn during that time frame. While they're in the barn, this is what they get fed. Hey everyone, we just want to remind you, the $250 gift card giveaway with All American Clothing is ending on January 30th at midnight. Don't forget to go enter and win, and make sure that you're supporting American-made products. It's hard to live in a country that makes things if you don't buy them. You can see right here that these guys have plenty of hay that feeds them all day, every day. So just to kind of explain a little bit about how they're eating this hay, this is a hog panel, and it has 4-inch by 4-inch squares all the way through it. And what we've done is we've cut right here, here, and here in order to make an 8x8 hole. This allows the sheep to be able to put their heads in there a little ways, and when they do that, when they bring their head back out, they are not going to pull their ear tags off. So you can see how it has a bunch of holes from where they've all been eating. Now this spot right here shows a little better of one that hasn't been eaten very much yet. The other benefit to having these small holes like this is anybody can kind of eat through it. However, they're not going to be able to reach all the way in, and once the hay starts falling down more, they can't get as much of it, so they'll be pushed to go to these bigger holes and reach in, and we don't have to move the hay around as much for them. Looks like the puppies are getting into trouble with some of the moms. These guys are new livestock guard dogs. They are being bonded with the sheep by being forced to stay in here with them during the winter. What you see Chrissy doing here is moving the hay around a little bit. Some of these were just a little lopsided and they didn't set in here like we wanted, so we want to ensure it feeds down. For the most part, as you can see on the rest of it, it's all actually fed down well like it's supposed to, and you'll see them jump on each other's back a little bit like you just seen this one right here to get to the top part. And that's okay, we don't mind that so much, but the beauty is that it's gravity fed. So as these hay bales start to get eaten down farther and farther, they go and get more and more of it as it's coming down to the bottom. Chris is just evening it out. Doesn't really matter if you even it out. It does make it easier when it comes time to feed new bales though, because as you can see, our 5x5 bales, we built these hay feeders. They fit in here really well. However, depending how much hay is still in there when you put the new bale in, it sets up kind of high and can be dangerous. We haven't had any fallout and land on anybody, but we want to ensure that it stays that way. What you don't see is that this isn't the only thing they're eating. And the reason being is because while we made this hay and we didn't get any mold in it and it's good quality hay, it will never have the same nutrition that growing grass will. And that's why we have these things. So let's go show you the other part of their feeding.
Good. You made me sneeze. Yeah.
So we go through there and we do some politicking. You've seen Chrissy picking up some babies, and as long as they're not new babies, it's not such a big deal. But if you pick up a new baby that mom and baby aren't bonded all that well just yet, you can actually put your scent on them, and then mom will actually reject them. So you got to be careful of doing that.
Especially the first time moms that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. All right, so out here, pretty simple setup. Just have some 4x4 posts that are in the ground, and these 4x4 posts hold up a 2x4 platform on top of it, and then above that, attached to it is some 6-inch PVC that's just simply cut in half. The purpose to all of this is basically to make it to where all of our sheep have the ability to eat at the same time. Then you see Chrissy over here. Hey, try the top one, it might work now. What Chrissy's doing is she's just grabbing some grain right here out of our. Nope, didn't come down yet. Well, we're gonna use the bottom. So this grain bin here holds 12 tons of feed, and it does not have 12 tons in it right now. However, we've been pulling from this side one right here that you just seen Chrissy attempt to use, and unfortunately all the grain has ran down, and we'll show the inside of that here so you can understand it a little better. All right, so up here on top of this grain bin, I don't know how well you can see it, but we open this lid, we can see kind of how much we've got left, and we'll do that real quick. So in here you can see Chrissy's down there pulling grain from the bottom. That's essentially how it works. Pretty simple cone. You can see we have a little moisture that got on the top. We'll have to address that. See where our leak is at exactly. So we started out with 4.5 tons. And we're probably close to 3 tons, maybe a touch more left. Really haven't used that much. And pretty simple process. All we do, we fill this up. Oh, you were light up here, huh? We try to get it a little closer to even so that everybody's not running back and forth, and it minimizes the way that others will eat more. The more even this is, they pretty well stay where they're at once they get started, and then they'll eat until it's gone. So by keeping it even, makes it to where they're essentially all getting really close to the same amount. Now, of course, you're gonna have some that are hungry hippos that just eat quicker and more than everyone else, but not much you can do about that part. The sheep will eat everything out of the trough, and then whatever's left on the ground, like what we spilled over here that little bit, we will actually have the chickens over here and they'll be eating it. So we don't have to do anything, they just kind of come over here on their own and find it. So they get 4 buckets, and totals about 160 pounds, maybe just a hair less, but I'll show you why. So that 160 pounds that we're putting out there feeds the 160 ewes plus the rams that are in here. Now, you could feed them more. That is absolutely plausible, and depending on what your operation looks like, that may be needed. In ours, 1 pound, excuse me, 1 pound of that grain, which that grain's not just pure grain. It's got soybean hulls, it's got some cracked corn in it, but it also has a lot of minerals and nutrients added specifically for sheep. It's driven towards them. By giving them the appropriate rations, they're not going to become fat. And while fat sounds good, it's actually not. If we feed them too much grain, the babies that are inside of them can grow rapidly and become hard to give birth to. It can also cause obesity in the animal, which is a health concern, just like it would be for a human. So keeping them at a healthy weight is a little bit of a science, because these bales that are right here behind us that we make off of our hay field are a part of their nutrition. So is the feed outside, and there's one more part to it. I don't know if you can see him, but there's a little boy right there hanging out with the guard dogs. He's gonna stay behind these guys. We're gonna let him out, and we're gonna show you what the third part of their meal is. Just so you know, this is not the normal way we let them out. We're actually opening this gate completely. We're gonna take it off the hinges and get it out of the way because we need to scrape the barn floor, but you'll see that in another video. You guys ready? Ready. Oh, they all came out. It's unusual. Yep, you guys out too. Go on, buddy. Get out. Go. All right, you can probably hear us better now too because everybody's outside, it's quieter. We're gonna show you the final step to their feed program for the wintertime. Prime example of one of the yearlings that actually did get pregnant. Now these two are in here because this is what we call our special needs area. And it could be anything from an animal that has mastitis, maybe an illness of some sort, injury, or like you see behind us with this yearling, her and her lamb just need some time to bond. And it's not too uncommon for a yearling. All of our other ones do really well and they bond pretty quick, but the yearlings, depending on how old they are, like she's really young. She's, by tag number, we tracked it down, and she was pregnant at 7 months old. And so that puts her right now, she's just over a year old. So it's not really ideal for them to get pregnant that young. In a few ways you can look at it. Sometimes we look at it as, well, you know, if their body's ready, then they will come into heat and they'll get pregnant. And I'd say others look at it that way too. Other farms may say, no, we don't let anybody breed until they're 2 years old, and that's good. Every farm has a program that works for them, and that's important. Cheyenne is over here dumping in what is the final ingredient to their feed program during the winter. And while you can't tell what it is necessarily while she's dumping it, we're going to explain it pretty easily to you. Majority of that is what's known as stock salt. So Stockman is the brand of it, I believe, but anyhow, it's just a fine salt mix for the livestock. It has some nutrients in there for them. Here's a good spot right here that you can kind of see. There's some mixed colors in there. So that just has a little bit of a, I guess, a rich blend there. And what you're seeing in those rich blend areas that you can't see where it's, the rest of it's mixed really well and you can't really tell. I know what the salt looks like, so I can see a reddish tint to it. Those are vitamins that we get from Premier One. And those vitamins that you're seeing are vitamin A, D, and E. And then there's also a selenium and iodine premix. And I'll put some pictures of it in the video here. But the purpose of it is pretty simple. We have all of those specific ingredients mixed into that mixed into that feed that they are getting to eat right now outside. What they don't have is free access to that all the time. Because again, we talked about how grain can make them obese. They can have access to these loose minerals all the time because they will only eat them as they need them. We have tried before where you put out the mineral tub that has molasses in it and it doesn't work well for them. They eat it consistently and constantly just because of the fact that it tastes good. You know, molasses is something that they enjoy, kind of like us, you know, like some people, they'll eat strawberries, right? But then if they're chocolate covered strawberries, they'll go from eating just a couple to eating a whole package, say 10 or 12 of them. Well, sheep are kind of the same way. Can you tell me what you're doing, Gage? Can you tell me what you're doing?
I'm giving hay for the lamb and its mom.
Oh, why are you giving her hay?
So she can eat.
Oh. Does she eat a lot of hay?